today. Aaron Blanchfield will step into the octagon with Manon Fiorot on Saturday night in a card in Atlantic City. With that being said, Aaron Blanchfield has been on her way to a flyweight championship title shot for a while. Can she beat Fiorot and realize that dream? Or will Manon Fiorot derail the hype train that is Aaron Blanchfield? Also, in the co-main event, the silence behind the violence, Vicente Luque steps in the octagon with Joaquin Buckley. That is going to be action-packed. And what about Chris Weidman, who's going to hobble his way to the octagon again to step in there with Bruno Silva? With that being said, whether he wins, loses, or draws, we would want Chris Weidman to retire, but we know he won't, and he will continue to hobble out to the octagon. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy Matt, back with another UFC card. It's UFC in Atlantic City, where Aaron Blanchfield will step in the octagon with Manon Fiorot in the main event. Let's start with that. Not a hot take. I'm going along with Aaron Blanchfield to get the win. There's definitely a world where I could see Manon Fiorot going out there, kind of doing somewhat of a point fight, trying to keep her distance, sticking her with the jab, using the teep kick. She has a great side kick to the midsection, and trying to keep her distance. However, I don't see that. I don't see Aaron Blanchfield allowing that to happen for too long. Now, because Aaron Blanchfield does have that dog in her, she will try to stand with Fiorot for a little while, just to kind of, almost like to prove a point, I can stand with you. But eventually, I suspect her to get this fight to the ground. With that being said, I do think Fiorot is a good fighter, so, depending on what her training camp is looking like, what they've been going over, what they've been working, there is a possibility that, or hopefully she spent her entire training camp working on how to keep distance from Aaron Blanchfield, working on her takedown defense, working on her cage grappling, all of that. But with that being said, I see Aaron Blanchfield going out there, getting the win, and moving forward. Now, if she wins, it remains to be seen if she'll have to fight another top contender before getting her shot at the winner of Valentina and Alexa Grasso. But we will see. But in the main event, I'm going along with Aaron Blanchfield. In the co-main event, we have Vicente Luque stepping in the octagon with Joaquin Buckley. In this one, I'm going to go along with Vicente Luque. I'm going to go along with him to get the win. I really think he's a more skilled fighter than Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley definitely is a good fighter. He definitely goes out there, he puts on a good show, and he is getting better with each fight. But in my opinion, as long as we don't have any stumbles like Luque had a few years ago, I think Luque is definitely the more skilled fighter as far as submissions. He can get a lot of tricky, like ninja chokes, things like that. I just think he's the more well-rounded fighter. So I'm actually going to go along with Vicente Luque to go out there and get the win. Next, we have Chris Weidman stepping in there with Bruno Silva. I'm actually going to go along with Bruno Silva. That's not a hot take at all. I mean, shout out to Chris Weidman. He did try to hang in there with Brad Tavares, in his return fight. But, I just got to go along with Bruno Silva. No disrespect to Chris Weidman. I'm going to be honest, I've never been a huge Chris Weidman fan. I know that might be sacrilegious or whatever, but I was an Anderson Silva fan. I was never really a Chris Weidman fan. But, to be honest, I would kind of like to see Chris Weidman go ahead and make that walk for the final time because, the man got one leg. You know what I'm talking about? Like, what do you want from him? He got one leg, bro. one leg was all atrophied, the other leg was muscular in his fight with Brad Tavares. You know what I'm saying? Like, Chris, it's time, bro. Get this last check and get up out of there. I got Bruno Silva. Next fight, we have, let's see, Nursultan Razabov stepping in the octagon with Cedricus Dumas. I'm going along with Razabov to get the win. I think Dumas is still extremely raw. You know, he's still extremely green in my opinion. He's shown, I wouldn't say brilliance, but he showed good fighting technique slightly in some of his fights that we've seen, but it's only been moments. It hasn't been an entire fight where you're like, oh, Dumas is doing his thing. He had one fight where he really wrestled really well, and that looked really good, but at the same time, it's like, I got to go along with Rajabov to get the win. So I'm going along with him. Next, we have Bill Algeo stepping in there with Kyle Nelson. I'm going along with Bill Algeo. I think he's one of these guys. He's really putting together. It's like he already had a really good fighting style. I already feel like he was an extremely comparable fighter. But now, he's kind of taking a page out of that Chael Sonnen book, and now he's leaning more into being a heel and kind of going at people on the mic and going at the fans, which only equates to the UFC giving you more opportunities. So I'm kind of anxious to see him go out there. I'm going to go along with him to get the win. Kyle Nelson is very sneaky and tricky because different fights that you feel like, oh, Kyle Nelson is going to get washed, he either hangs with the guy or he wins by decision. So it's definitely something to keep in mind. But I'm going along with Bill Algeo to get the win. We also have Chidi Adjukwani stepping in there with Reese McKee. This one, you want to go along with Chitty to get the win, okay? So that's automatically where you want to go with. With that being said, he did not look good in his last fight against Olazechek. He just did not look good. He started out looking good, and then he just gassed out in the first round, and then the fight just got away from him, and he would eventually quit. He got broken. Like, he broke in that fight and lost. So, with that being said, I'm assuming he went back to the lab, went back to the drawing board, got everything together, and he's ready for this fight against McKee, I would assume. But there definitely could be a world, because, Chitty's not a young dude, and he's been in the game for a long time. He's had a long career. He had a long career in Bellator before he came to the UFC. So there is a good chance, he might be past his expiration point. You know what I'm talking about? Homie might be aging like milk out here in these streets. You know what I'm saying? So, I'm not really too sure. I'm going to go along with Chidi to get the win, but might not be a bad idea to slide a little DraftKings money on McKee. DraftKings, holla at me. Your boy's still out here doing his thing, betting with y'all every time there's a UFC card and NBA. But, bro, holla at me. DraftKings, holla at me. Now's your chance to get in on the ground level and sponsor Matter of Fact MMA. Anyway, I got Chitty to go out there and get the win. Moving over to the prelims, we have Nate Landwehr, Nate the Train, baby, stepping in there with Jamal Emmers. I hate to shade Nate Landwehr, but I'm going along with Jamal Emmers. I think he's definitely the more skilled fighter. I think definitely he's been showing that he's the more skilled fighter. The issue with him is that weight cut. So hopefully he gets that, gets his weight cut under control, because that's definitely where he loses and to a certain extent. But I got Jamal Emmers to get the win. Lupe Godinez stepping in the octagon with Virna Jandiroba. I'm going along with Lupe Godinez. She seems like she's on a pretty good run right now, or she's about to get on a run. She's only lost one fight, maybe out of her last 3 or 4. So, Lupe Godinez, she's doing her thing. Man, outside of that, I'm just going to kind of rattle off the rest of these. Julio Arce stepping in there with Herbert Burns. Julio Arce all day. Herbert Burns is probably due to get cut sooner than later. Dennis Bazooka stepping in there with Connor Matthews. I don't know a ton about Connor Matthews. I think I'm going to lean toward Dennis Bazooka, but you never really know with a lot of these guys that are super, super early in their career, like Connor Matthews. I'm going to lean toward Dennis on that. We have the Pleasure Man, Anton Turkali, stepping in there with Ebo Aslan. I'm just going to keep making it a point to fade the Pleasure Man because his name is the Pleasure Man. So I'm fading the Pleasure Man again. I'm going along with Aslan to get the win. We have Victoria Dudakova stepping in there with Melissa Gatto. I'm actually going to go along with Dudakova to get the win. She's currently undefeated right now. I think she has the right mentality. I think she definitely hits the gym hard. She trains hard. No disrespect to Melissa Gatto, but I think Victoria's going to get the win. Melissa Gatto coming off of a loss there. Let's see, her loss was against Ariana Lipsky. I think Victoria's going to get the job done. We have Andre Petrosky stepping in there with Jacob Malkoun. I know a lot of people are picking Jacob Malkoun. I kind of want to lean toward Andre Petrosky. I think he can surprise people, but I'm going to go ahead and go along with Malkoun to get the win, though. And then finally, we have Angel Pacheco. Angel Pacheco stepping in there with Caroline Lochning. Loughran, I should say. I'm just gonna go along with Loughran to get the win. I mean, I know his last fight he took that L, and I mean he went out there, he really egged on the French fans and everything, and he took a loss to Lapalus. But I'm gonna go along with Loughran to get the win. So that is it. That is the card. That is UFC Atlantic City. It goes down this Saturday night. Like I said, we will see if Aaron Blanchfield can go out there, beat Manon Fiorot in the main event, and then cruise closer to a flyweight title shot. However, if Fiorot wins, be on the lookout for the UFC to sign a rematch between Rose Namajunas and Manon Fiorot. They might take that back to France. Who knows? Nevertheless, that is the card. UFC Atlantic City. Please like, subscribe, comment. Let me know what you think about my picks. Let me know who you got. If your picks are different, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. You know what I'm saying? That's the best part, is whoever you believe is going to win, you can go ahead and let a brother know down in the comments. You can be like, Matt, you don't know what you're talking about. So-and-so is going to win, and this is who I'm going for. I appreciate it. Nevertheless, I want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.